Okay, so if I may just explain why I'm going to tell you what my answer, and I don't want to be alarmist. People mustn't get panicky about this. They must rather take control of the situation. But
Mm.
I've had several people call me over the last couple of weeks, including people that work on the peripheral equipment to the actual boiler and the turbines. And for instance, at Majuba in June, one mill broke down 197 times. 197 times. Now, if you say, well, it takes an hour to fix up each breakdown, which is not true because it takes you longer than an hour to get from the local town, Witbank, to the actual power station and get through security. Then it's 197 hours that place was not available in the month of June, out of a total of 800 hours that are in a month. So a quarter of the month already just for waiting time. That one unit at Majuba out of 6 was not available. If I tell you that the breakdowns included 5 gearbox breakdowns, you won't believe me. How can a gearbox break down 5 times in the same gearbox, 5 times in 1 month? It just points to incompetent repairs and or incompetent running of the machinery. It's one or the other. It can't be ghosts coming at nighttime or something like that. There's got to be a rational reason why these things break down. On top of that, I'm told that Eskom has run out of spare parts because of the budget cuts. And the budget cuts have been directed by Mr. De Ruyter and Mr. Gordon, as far as I'm aware. If I'm wrong, they must come forward and tell me that I'm wrong. But the fact of the matter is, Eskom's maintenance and repair budget has apparently been cut by more than 75%. You cannot run what you yourself described as old and dilapidated plant, which is not actually true, but nevertheless, you can't want to run it on a shoestring budget. It just doesn't make rational sense. So I think it's time that we call out the facts as we see them, and we use the whistleblower information that is passed on to us and say that there's actually a third force or another agenda operating at Eskom. Because any rational person that had any rational skills and thinking ability would have fixed up and identified the core root problems of Eskom within 3 years and at least have made some dent, which Mr. De Ruyter promised when he came and joined Eskom, in fact, in November of 2019, but officially on the 1st of January 2020. He came with the idea that he wanted to refurbish it. He was going to get the OEMs, the original equipment manufacturers, involved. I said, hallelujah, we'll stop the pirate parts and all that nonsense. And then he went ahead and he said, man, he's even going to get warranties from the OEMs. And I thought, now this guy's now on a different planet because no OEM will give you a warranty on repairs of equipment that's been abused for more than 20 years. But so hallelujah, let him get the OEMs in, the people that built the stuff, let them come and fix the thing up properly, and let's have another 20, 30, 40 years out of the so-called old and dilapidated equipment. If I could just add, if you've flown on a 747 Boeing in the last 10 years, that Boeing would have been more than 40 years old. Eskom's plant is around 40 years old, the older plant. So there's nothing wrong with flying in an old Boeing. In fact, as long as it's properly maintained. In fact, there's still Spitfires from the Second World War flying around because they've been properly maintained. The issue isn't the age. You replace all the wear parts. The issue is the level and quality of the care and maintenance that you put into those plants.
But are we able to turn this around, or is it a downward spiral?
Well, if you're using spare parts from the local hardware store to fix up industrial equipment, I think you're on a very slippery downward spiral. And I think with the current attitude of cutting the maintenance budget and making excuses, so every time Eskom's come online in the last 3 years, it's been the same old story. Medupi Unit 2, Kusile Unit 3, Duva Unit 2, Creel Unit 1. I'm not interested in which unit it is. I want to know why we aren't fixing the things up properly and why they aren't lasting. That is, and the proper management would have sorted that problem out long, long time ago.
Which of the promises that Andre de Ruyter made and Mr. Gordon and the president have been fulfilled in the, let's say, past 3 years?
Okay, maybe I'm not the right person to ask that question because to my knowledge, zero. Absolutely zero. Even the president's preposterous idea of importing power from Botswana, and I'm very close to Botswana Power Corporation. I mean, they've gotten themselves off the Eskom teeth because the Eskom has been unreliable. And they came back after the president made this grandiose announcement that he's going to import power from Botswana. And they said, man, we can maybe offer you 50 megawatts on a weekend. During the week, we use all our power. And Zambia, as far as that's concerned, it's a complete joke because Zambia is load shedding and is very short of power and is scrambling to try and get their own power generation up as we speak. So they've got no power to supply us excess power. So somebody who fed the president either is an imbecile, he doesn't know what he's talking about, or he didn't do his homework properly, and he made the president made a fool of the president by allowing the president to make these false statements.
There were allegations of what is the English word now for it?
Sabotage.
Yeah, blowing up. My magtig, wat is dit? Wat is die woord vir sabotasie?
Sabotage.
There were allegations of sabotage. Is there any truth in that, Ted?
Well, the SIU and Eskom and everybody has done the investigations. And to the best of my knowledge, and I've got some whistleblowers in that area as well, nothing has come of those so-called allegations of sabotage. And the writer was very pertinent yesterday to say that the NAN suddenly doesn't expect any or anticipate any sabotage. He's got no evidence to support any sabotage. So he's been burnt by his previous allegations, and now he's very, very cautious to try and make those same things. Because if he's alleging sabotage of the workers, he's making allegations against the very people that Eskom relies on to keep that system going. And if those allegations are not provable, you've made a new enemy in your workforce.
Are we on the point of a total meltdown of Eskom?
You've asked me this question. I've tried to not be alarmist. The fact of the matter is, if there is no intervention, I nearly said divine intervention, but I don't want to play with God. But if there's no proper intervention by people who actually know what is required, yes, the possibility and the probability of a meltdown and a total blackout is probably highest now in the 100 years history of Eskom. It's never been higher.